welcome back. It's me, Queen Nightmare, and I'm going to be reading the Drarry story again. Sorry, I couldn't think of which one I was doing, because the big surprise is coming up soon, and tomorrow is when I'm going to be able to publish that story, and with a special guest. And it is not who you think it is, because you never have met this person ever. Well, maybe in the comment section, but that's pretty much it. So let's start off with Sorry, we've been having issues with me recording my parts of the story because of my phone not wanting to record while I'm on the phone with this person. So I'm irked, kind of, you know what I mean. And I'm peed off. That's what it is. I'm just peed off. Okay. Hold my hand. Part what? Was it like part 15 or something? Well, the secret's already out, so we know that. Breakfast with the Slytherins, I'm guessing. No. We already saw this. Shopping! The group walked for a while in silence, nothing to say to each other, which is chapter 15, shopping. The group walked for a while in silence, nothing to say to each other. But as they reached Hogsmeade, Felix turned back to the group with a wide smile. Wait, didn't I read this already? I could have sworn I read this. Having technical difficulties, help me! Okay, we're finally back. I found out what the problem was. I'm at the wrong chapter. Chapter 16, Party Games. The room was warm, lit with fire and orangey lights. Actually, I should say this is dedicated to Joanne is my queen. That's the chapter was dedicated to, not me. I don't know who that person is, but there you go. I don't know who. Lit with fire and orangey lights, casting a soft glow over everything. There were 10 multicolored beanbag chairs, grouped in a circle. With a bottle in the middle, there was a small, low-lit bar against the far wall. Big speakers on the opposite wall. The room was beautiful. "I call blue," Felix shouted, jumping on the blue beanbag. "No way, I wanted that one," Tabitha shouted, chasing after him. "If you wanted it, you should have grabbed it." While they fought over the blue beanbag, Pansy sat casually on the green one. Goyle chose the red. Lucinda sat on purple, and Pansy shoved Blaze off her lap, and he sat on the black one. Tabitha grumbled about loving blue, moved to sit on the gray one. Damon sat on the yellow one, and Millie chose the pink one. Upon realizing that they couldn't sit on the two separate beanbags, Malfoy and Harry sat on the orange one together. "Shall we start with spin the bottle?" Pansy said brightly. Then the others nodded. She spun it and landed on Blaze. She rolled her eyes. "Does this count as cheating on my girlfriend?" "On your girlfriend?" Blaze shrugged. "I'm going to break up with her anyways." Pansy shrugged. "Okay." She leaned forward and pecked him on the lips. "Felix, your turn." He grinned and spun it. When it landed on Millie, he smirked. "Ready for the best kiss of your life?" Bull strode. She rolled her eyes. "Shut up, Gonzalez." He laughed and leaned over and kissed her. It lasted 10 seconds when Millie pulled away. "I'm really pissed that you weren't wrong, Gonzalez." He laughed lightly. "Goyle, your turn." Goyle spun the bottle and landed on Lucinda. The shy girl blushed, and Goyle leaned forward and lightly kissed her. Before pulling away, if possible, she blushed harder. Damon landed on Tabitha. Blaze landed on Goyle, and Millie landed on Pansy. Tabitha landed on Blaze, and Lucinda landed on Damon, which ended in an awkward cough and a light peck on the cheek. Then it was Harry's turn. He spun the bottle and slowly until it landed on Damon. The boy's dark eyes met Harry's and he grinned. Harry moved off the beanbag, keeping his arm behind him, as Malfoy wouldn't have to move too. He leaned forward and lightly kissed Damon. Almost instantly, he pulled away, yelling and jumping back onto the beanbag and vaguely registered Malfoy screaming. Pansy pulled Damon back before he could touch Harry again and knelt in front of the two. Hey, it's okay. It's all right, she said softly. As they're screaming, oh, I thought that he meant like he was disgusted. I forgot they can't touch other people. It's been a while, as you can tell. She said softly. As their screams died down, she smiled. Are you okay? It was then that Harry realized he had a protective arm around Malfoy and pulled away embarrassed. Yeah, I'm okay. I forgot we can't touch anyone. Malfoy nodded. Nodded. Yeah. Pansy sighed. I guess spin the bottles out. Let's play Truth or Dare. The others nodded in agreement. Okay, Malfoy, I guess technically it's your turn. Damon. Gray eyes met brown. Truth or Dare? Dare. The darker-haired boy smirked at Malfoy. I dare you to let Blaise make you a drink, and you have to drink it all. Damon swallowed at the fire in Malfoy's eyes and nodded. Harry stood with Malfoy, and they followed Blaise to the bar. Blaise frowned at Malfoy. Code red or green? Malfoy thought about it and then turned to Harry. Want to set his mouth on fire or make him throw up? Harry smirked. I mean, he set our mouths on fire. It's really only fair that we repay the favor. Malfoy grinned. Good choice, Potter. He turned to Blaise. Code red. Blaise grinned a wicked grin and started combining various hot sauces, peppers, and alcohol, and other various spicy foods until into the blender and hit the blend button, pretty much. After about a minute, Blaise poured it into a glass and brought it to Damon. Harry and Malfoy sat back on their beanbag chair. Harry couldn't help but think that they were closer than they had ever been. Malfoy was right next to him, arm flush against his. Damon made a face at the drink, but took a sip and pulled away, gasping, "Jeezum crow!" Malfoy raised an eyebrow. The dare said, "All, Damon." Damon nodded and took a deep breath before chugging the mixture. He then ran to the bathroom and threw up. What? Malfoy shrugged. I guess it was code red and green. Harry laughed. And then Damon came back and flushed. He turned to Harry. Truth or dare, Harry? Truth, Harry said immediately. V shots! Pansy exclaimed, running to the bar. Harry turned to Malfoy. By V, does he mean... Malfoy nodded in confirmation. Vetraserum. I thought of something different, but, I am a very disgusting person, so you can see where my mind was going. But, that's what happens. After they all took shots of Vetraserum, Damon asked his question. Harry, in your opinion, who's the hottest person in the room? Harry rolled his eyes. That's your question? But he could feel the serum pushing the answer. Answer the question. Damon raised an eyebrow. Draco, Harry blurted out. In my opinion, the hottest person in the room is Draco. He heard Draco inhale sharply, and Pansy was grinning. Damon's face had fallen, and he looked irritated. Your turn, Harry, Pansy said happily. He turned to the shy girl. Lucinda, truth or dare? She raised an eyebrow. Dare. He was surprised, but quickly gave her dare. Dare you to make out with Goyle. The words had barely left his lips when Lucinda pounced on Goyle, kissing him intensely. Harry's eyes were wide. The shy girl had guts. Damon had gagging noises as his twin continued kissing his friend, and Pansy was holding back laughter at the annoyance on his face. When Lucinda finally pulled away and went back to her beanbag, she dared Felix to kiss Blaise. Blaise then turned to Malfoy. Dre, truth or dare? Malfoy raised an eyebrow. Dare. Blaise's grin was wicked. Kiss Harry. Malfoy made soft, choking noises for a second before turning to Harry. Sorry. Harry just shrugged, smiling, and let Malfoy kiss him. Malfoy's lips were very soft and tasted like butterscotch. Ooh, yummy. Sorry, I don't really like butterscotch. I'm not a big fan of fudge, but I'm a big fan of butterscotch. Malfoy pulled away after a second and grinned. Potter, truth or dare? Dare. I dare you to stop calling me Malfoy. Harry blinked. That wasn't what he expected, but he smirked. Okay, Ferret. Malfoy threw his head back, laughing. No! Harry was momentarily stunned by Draco's laugh, but then shook it off. Millie, truth or dare? Truth. Who in this room would you make out with, and who wouldn't you? You got donuts? I heard that she has donuts. Hold on. You got food? You got games on your phone? You got donuts?
Oh, they do?
I heard donuts. Oh, I already have that in my room. I can also eat sweets. The French chocolate bites that looked really expensive, maybe $20, and there's only like 16 in there. Well, anyways, let's keep on going. Sorry about that. I was hungry. Millie looked around. I would make out with Lucy, Pans, and Tab. None of the guys because I'm gay. Apparently, Harry wasn't the only one shocked by this revelation, and they all let it go and kept playing. Millie dared Tabitha to do a pole dance. Tabitha dared Blaise to eat cinnamon. Blaise dared Goyle to do a flip. Goyle made Felix tell everyone that he would make out with Lucinda out of everyone in the room. Then Felix turned to Draco. Felix turned to Draco. Truth or dare? Draco grinned. Truth. What's your kink? Draco stilled. Just one? Shouting erupted. Pansy yelled, You have more! Damon shouting, How many fucking kinks do you have, man? And Blaise grinning and saying, Kinky! When the room died down, Draco's face was very flushed. Felix laughed. Yeah, you can just tell us one. Draco paused, thinking about it. Exhibitionism. Kinky. Blaise screeched. Pans, truth or dare? Draco asked. She smirked. Dare, darling. Dare you to kiss Millie? Millie grinned. Hey, thanks, Dre. Pans laughed. Shut up, she said, before leaning in and kissing Millie. They kissed for a good 10 seconds before Pansy turned away, leaving Millie dazed. Harry, truth or dare? Dare. Sit on Dre's lap for the rest of the game. Harry flushed. He carefully moved so Draco was sitting in the middle of the beanbag, and then lifted lifted Draco's arm over his head. So he sat. When he sat down, his arm was across his stomach, so their hands could remain conjoined. His face flushed, and he fidgeted as he asked Tabitha, truth or dare. As the game continued around him, he continued to fidget, and was too distracted by the fact that he was in Draco fucking Malfoy's lap. And then suddenly Draco's lips were in his ear, softly whispering so the others wouldn't hear. Potter, I swear to God, you need to stop moving right now. Why? Harry whispered softly. Because it feels really good. How can that be bad? Harry whispered back, fidgeting more out of nervousness. 'Cause it's going to make me... Draco's words were cut off by him making soft noises, and his head dropped down onto Harry's shoulder. Then Harry could feel it. His whole body stilled. Draco was hard. Shit. Draco hissed. Harry tried to focus, to not get distracted by the fact he had turned on Draco Malfoy. He yawned loudly. Really? Sorry, guys, but I'm tired. Thank gosh, the Verita serum has worn off. Pansy nodded. You can just go to sleep in the Slytherin dorms, rather than all the way to your room. They're closer. Harry nodded. Okay. What he didn't count on was the others standing too. You guys can stay, he said, trying to sound nervous. Nah. Trying not to sound nervous. Nah, Blaze stretched. It's getting late. They started walking out the door. Harry sighed. All right, come on, he whispered, standing and pulling Draco up. Just try to just try to kind of stay behind me. Draco nodded, face flushed. Okay. Luckily, they made it to the Slytherin dorms without anyone realizing what was wrong. They quickly said goodnight to everyone and went up to Draco and Blaze's shared room. Blaze fell asleep fairly fast, but Draco and Harry laid in an awkward silence. Are you still... Harry started. Yep. Right, well, just try to sleep. They did actually fall asleep, but it was only for a couple hours before Harry woke up to a soft noise next to him. He opened his eyes and Draco practically sobbing next to him, hands shoved down his pants, desperately trying to get himself off. Hey, calm down, Harry whispered. Draco's hand whipped toward him, and he yanked his hand down his pants. You're going to wake up Blaze. I can't, Draco stuttered, tears still rolling down his cheek. I can't. Hey, it's okay, Harry whispered. It's all right. Draco shook his head. I can't sleep. I'm too turned on. Harry paused, then whispered into the dark. Do you want help? There was silence for 2 seconds where Harry thought he'd seriously effed up. And then, very soft, yes, was whispered back. Okay. Harry sat up. Be quiet, all right? We don't want Blaze to wake up. Draco nodded. Harry moved so he was cross-legged, facing Draco, who was laying down. His fingers stretched in the dark for Draco's hip, until he reached the top of Draco's pants. Can I take these off? He whispered, trying not to let on how nervous he was. Yes. Harry slowly pulled down Draco's bottoms and underwear. I'm going to touch you. Is that okay? Yeah. Harry wrapped his hand around Draco's length, and almost instantly the blonde inhaled sharply. "Draco," Harry whispered in a reprimanding tone. "What did I say about noise?" Sorry." But Draco couldn't help the whimpers that escaped his mouth as Harry continued moving his hand. Harry didn't know what to do. One hand was busy, one was conjoined to Draco's. How could he make him stop? Draco let out a long moan as Harry twisted his hand again, and Harry knew he had to shut the blonde up somehow. So he leaned forward and shut Harry's mouth with his own. Draco made a small noise of surprise, but seemed to realize what Harry was doing. Draco's hips were starting to jerk, and his breathing was becoming shorter. And Harry knew he was close. He twisted his hand and stroking faster, and Draco moaned, muffled by Harry's kiss, and came. Harry pulled away breathlessly. "You okay?" Draco nodded and grabbed some tissues, cleaning up Harry's hand, then his leg. Harry laid down. "We'll talk about it tomorrow." He prayed. Tomorrow never came. Funny. Knee slapper, am I right? Anyways, okay, what the hell just happened? I'm so confused. Yeah, he needed to shut up and all, but ooh, yowza. Wow. Chapter 17, Agreements. Day 4. It's only day 4? Oh my gosh. Whew. Harry was already awake by the time Draco started stirring next to him. The blonde sat up quickly, staring at Harry in horror. "Last night." "Shut up. Just stop." Harry held up a hand. "We'll talk when we're in our room." Rude! Yelling at my Discord for being rude. Mute tab. Harry held up a hand to stop. Yeah. It was only then that Draco seemed to remember that they were in Slytherin dorms. He straightened and nodded at Harry. They got up, ready, quickly, and left the room. It must have been breakfast time, because no one was in the common room except Pansy. "Hey guys," she stood as they came downstairs. "Hey guys, I just want to say that if we pushed you too far at something last night, I'm sorry." Harry shook his head. "It's all right, Pansy. Yesterday was fun." Draco nodded. Pansy smiled, sighing. "Okay, good. I'm going to breakfast. Are you coming?" Harry shook his head. "I don't feel well, and I'm still really tired. I'm going to head back to our room and chill out for today." Pansy nodded. "If you need anything at all, I'm here." Harry smiled. "Thank you, Pansy." She nodded, and they went their separate ways. Okay. The walk seemed even longer, with an awkward silence hanging between the two. "Your little brother never tells you, but he loves you. So you said your mother only smiled on her TV show." Wait, that song sounds familiar. Harry sang softly. Draco's head whipped toward him in shock. "You're only happy when you're sorry. Your sorry head is filled with dope. I hope you make it to the day you're 20 years old. Harry continued. You're dripping like a saturated sun. You're spilling like an overflowing sink. Draco joined in quietly. You ripped at every edge, but you're a masterpiece. And now you're tearing through the pages and the ink, they sang. Everything is blue. His pills, his hands, his jeans. What? Is it the blue song? Everything is blue. His pills, his hands, his jeans. Harry sang loudly. And now I'm covered in the colors, pulled apart at the seams. Draco sang louder. It's blue, and it's blue, and it's blue. And they were all both breathless and happy by the time they reached their room, and both of their smiles faded. Harry murmured the password, and the door slid open. Both boys quietly sat on the bed, cross-legged, facing each other as it shut again. Draco, can we start by saying one thing right now? Everything we say in this room, from time we arrive to the time we leave, will be completely confidential. We will never mention it to another person without the other's consent, and if one of us wishes, any topic we speak about will never be brought up again. Can we agree on that? Draco nodded. Yeah, I agree. Harry sighed. I've been thinking. I have a proposition for you. Draco's eyes met his. Continue. We're both teenage boys, obviously, and things like last night are going to happen again. At Draco's wide eyes, he quickly corrected himself. I mean, things like getting turned on, not the other thing we did. Draco nodded slowly. So sometimes we aren't going to be able to control it and not doing anything about it. For 10 weeks, we'll probably kill one of us. Harry added, smiling. Draco snorted. So I'm thinking we could help each other out. Like last night, for example. And we don't have to take it any further than that. And we can always keep the light out if it's more comfortable. And obviously, we don't have to if you don't want to. Draco's voice was hoarse. And if one of us wants to take it further than that, we would need express spoken consent from the other. Harry replied firmly. Draco nodded slowly. All right, sounds good. Harry smiled. Good, I'm glad we can talk about this civilly. Do you want to talk about how far we're willing to take it? Draco nodded again. I think for now we could stick with what we did last night, and... Harry glanced up. And what? Is kissing okay? Draco looked at their hands. I think it would make it more comfortable. Harry nodded. I'm okay with that. Draco relaxed. Okay. Harry sighed. We have classes in 4 days. Draco nodded sadly. Kind of a shame, really. Harry shrugged. I mean, we only have 2 weeks of classes and then vacation. His voice trailed off. He looked at Draco in horror. What? Draco asked, instantly looking worried. We have finals testing in 2 weeks. Harry whispered. Draco's eyes widened. We haven't studied. Harry sighed. Maybe we can have another shopping day with the Slytherins soon and study. Draco nodded. I think we should sit with the Gryffindors today. Harry blinked. What? Draco shrugged. It's just, I know Granger fucked up, but that doesn't mean you should ignore the rest of your friends for it. I guess you're right. We should take showers, though. Draco nodded in agreement, and the two set off to start their morning routine. I keep on forgetting that the Snarry universe and the Drarry universe isn't connected. Because in the Drarry universe, Snarry universe, it didn't go so well. Let's just say that. I don't really want to say it because it's so rude. Well, you have to see it, but he was beaten and kicked on and spat on, and it was horrible because he was gay. And it really broke my heart to see that. And I just want to say to people who are actually suffering from this type of abuse, if you need anything, just come to me immediately. Because no one should be able to go through that absolute BS, okay? You don't deserve it, and you're not worthless. And I'm sorry, I just feel like, I don't get it. I don't get it. I'm sorry, I'm mad right now. And I just hate when people are like so rude to others when they don't need to be. Okay, chapter 18. Breakfast with Gryffindors. Nobody looked up when Draco and Harry walked into the Great Hall. It had been 4 days and nobody cared anymore. They cautiously sat down at the Gryffindor table, eyes studying the others' reactions. Neville was the first to speak. "It's good to see you again, Harry. May I call you Draco?" Draco nodded mutely. "Draco, it's a pleasure to have you at our table. I trust you'll at least be civil. Draco studied him for a minute. Harry squeezed his hand, silently telling him to say something. "Thank you, Neville," he replied softly. Neville tilted his head, smiling. "Do you need help getting food?" "Actually, we're starting to get used to helping each other," Harry replied, smiling. "That's good to hear," Ron added. "It'd be a nightmare if you two were arguing all the time." Dean poured himself some juice and the glass for Seamus. "Draco, are you taking advanced potions?" Draco nodded. "Yeah, I am." "Okay, I know you haven't been here the past couple of days, but do you know the answers to this?" Dean slid a piece of parchment across the table. Draco studied it. "I would say a combination of moonstone and phoenix feathers." Dean's eyes brightened. "I didn't even consider it. It could be a combination. I was trying to find the ingredient by itself." "Thanks, Draco." He took his parchment back and scribbled it down. Draco smiled a genuine smile. "You're welcome." Ron shook his head. "I suck at potions. I could never be in advanced potions. I'm surprised Harry got in." Harry winked. "I'm irresistible, Ron. I can get into whatever I want." Ron choked at the suggestive sentence, and Seamus cracked up. Neville glanced at something above Harry's head. His smile dropped. "Parkinson." Harry turned around and smiled. "Hey, Pansy." She nodded at him. "Harry?" She turned to Draco and handed him something in a bag. "Here's the thing you asked me to get yesterday. Also, you two, we've come to realization that finals are in 2 weeks, and we think we're gonna do a study day tomorrow. You down?" Harry nodded, if Draco was okay with it. Draco also nodded. May I attend? Hermione's voice cut in. These nitwits never get anything done, and I really need to study. Before Pansy could respond, Draco's head whipped around in protective glare on his face. No. Hermione gaped at him. But you let Harry in, and I need to study. Study with the Ravenclaws or go to this library. Draco's voice was cold as steel. I don't want to hear your voice again, unless it's an apology. Hermione gaped. Neville's nervous voice cut in. May I come? Draco turned to face him and smiling sweetly. You may, if Pansy allows it. Pansy was frowning at his blatant rejection of Hermione, but shrugged. Sure. Dean raised an eyebrow. Can Seamus and I come? Draco nodded. If Pansy okay with it. All of you can come, except Granger. I choked on my own saliva. That wasn't good. Sorry. Pansy nodded slowly, still confused as to why he hated Hermione so much. Sure, tomorrow, just after dinner, meet in front of the room requirement. And she was gone. Draco set down his bag and resumed eating. Sorry, I'm still choking on my saliva. Chapter 19, Study Date. Day 5. It was just after dinner Harry and Draco stood up from the Slytherin table. They started to walk out of the Great Hall, joined by Felix, Tabitha, Pansy, Lucinda, Damon, and Blaise. By the time they reached the room of requirements, they had been joined by Ron, Neville, Dean, Seamus, and Luna. Pansy closed her eyes, and seconds later, a door opened. She smiled brightly and opened it. The same room as before, except there appeared to be a library section added where the bar had been, and there were more beanbag chairs. All right, Pansy turned, smiling. Here we go. Everyone moved to grab some books and sit on the beanbag chairs. Harry and Draco focused mostly on their own things, occasionally using their joined hand to aid in whatever they were doing. It was very peaceful and relaxing. They kept accidentally sliding into each other since they were on the same beanbag, which became very distracting. By the 5th time, Harry accidentally slid into Draco. Draco was irritated. Fuck's sake, he muttered. He maneuvered them so Harry was sitting in between Draco's legs, leaning back against his chest, with Harry's right arm laying across his stomach, so it wasn't uncomfortable for their conjoined hands. Neither of them noticed Damon's glare or Seamus's smirk. They continued reading their books for a while before Harry set his down on his lap, closing it. How do you make Armententia? He asked. Draco thought for a moment, and he's also setting down his book. A combination of ashwinder egg, rose thorns, peppermint oil, and moonstone. Harry nodded, trying to remember that for his potions final. What spell clears airways to make it possible to breathe? Draco murmured. Animyopia. It looks like animyopia. Okay. Let me readjust myself. I want chocolates. Feed me chocolates. Yum, yum, yum. They continue. Yay. Anna, no. I think that's how you say it. Harry whispered back. They continued to quiz each other for a while longer before Pansy sighed and stood up, stretching. I'm bored. Let's do something, she exclaimed. Everyone else nodded and grinned, setting aside books in favor of this more interesting outcome. As an honorary hello to our Gryffindor and Slytherin and Ravenclaw guests, I say we play a friendly game of truth or dare. Harry snorted. Hardly friendly, Pansy. In my opinion, the hottest person in the room is Draco, Pansy sang loudly, quoting Harry's words from the previous game. Shut up, he shouted, laughing and throwing a pillow at her. The Gryffindors looked thoroughly confused, but before they could ask anything, Pansy summoned Veritaserum shots. V-shots, she sang, passing them out to everyone. Yay! Luna cried before downing hers. Harry laughed and drank his too. Ron frowned slightly, but he drank his. Seamus poured a shot down Dean's throat, and Dean returned the favor. After everyone had taken their Veritaserum, Pansy smirked. All right, Felix, truth or dare? Dare, baby, he cheered. I dare you to give Luna Lovegood a hickey. Oh, boy, Luna exclaimed. I've never had a hickey. Felix laughed lightly before crawling across the circle. He lifted Luna's hair away from her neck and pressed his lips against it. Oh, my, Luna giggled. That's quite pleasant. Harry tried to conceal his laughter. After a couple of moments, Felix pulled away, admiring his work, before going back to his seat. Damon, he singed. Truth or dare? Truth. Damon said smoothly. Truth. Damon said smoothly. Who was the most recent sexual fantasy? Who was your most recent sexual fantasy about? Damon glared at the cackling boy before muttering something. What was that, Damon? Tabitha asked sweetly. Harry, he grumbled. Harry's eyes widened in surprise. He felt Harry's hand tighten on his. Seamus, Damon said quickly, trying to diffuse the tension. Truth or dare? Truth. Who was the last person you kissed? Dean, was Seamus' immediate response. Dean blushed. Ron gaped, but said nothing. Draco! Seamus exclaimed. Truth or dare? Dare. Harry couldn't see him, but he knew he was giving Seamus the confident smirk that said he wouldn't back down. Dare you to fully put Harry on your lap. Why is it always me? Harry pretended to complain, laughing. Because you're the only one who can touch each other, Pansy said, smirking at the implication of her own words. Harry blushed dark and moved back as he was fully seated on Draco's lap. Draco's hand rested on his waist, and Harry's free hand remained on his lap. Try not to move this time, he murmured in his ear before raising his voice. Dean, truth or dare? Dean cut in. Then, with a smirk that could rival Draco's, I dare you to make your boyfriend hard. Harry could hear the wicked smirk in his voice as the blood drained from Seamus's face. Dean smiled brightly. That's what I'm best at. Oh, I would die if this serum was actually a thing. Oh, man. Okay. As the others laughed, Dean moved backwards, tracing circles on Seamus's thigh, whispering something in his ear. Seamus' jeans tented, and his cheeks remained rosy. He grabbed Dean's hand as he stood. We're leaving now, he shouted over his shoulder. Wait, Dean, it's your turn. You can have it, he shouted back as the door slammed. Pansy was grinning evilly, and her eyes rested on Harry. Harry, darling, truth or dare? Truth, he replied, not liking the wicked glint in her eyes. What's the most sexual thing you've ever done? Harry immediately blushed dark, but the Beretta forced him. I gave someone a hand job. Pansy and Luna giggled. And Blaze full out laughed. Ron stared at him. No! No, 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 no. You gay, mate? Harry blushed and nodded. Who was it? Tabitha shouted. Harry slammed a hand over his mouth before the word Draco could come out. He whispered it softly, so the Beretta serum wouldn't bother him. You only get to one question, he said, his blush growing darker. Lucinda, if you were a lesbian, who would you be with? Luna, she said without hesitation. As the game continued around them, Draco whispered in Harry's ear, I was the most sexual thing you've ever done. You're the first and only, Harry murmured back. Wow. Harry could hear the amazement in his tone, but before he could ask why Draco was so amazed, he heard his name being called. He snapped back to focus, deciding not to ask where Neville and Blaze had gone. Oh gosh, no, poor Neville. Knowing the question they would ask if he said truth, he simply replied, dare. Felix referred forward No, please no, please no. This can't be real, guys. Stop. Felix leaned forward, grinning. I dare you to tell us who you gave a hand job to. That's not fair, Harry cried. Is too, Tabitha said, grinning. Who'd you give a hand job to? Harry cut off his own speech by clamping his hand over his mouth. Pansy sighed. Draco, grab Harry's free hand. I'm sorry, Draco whispered softly before taking his hand and holding it down. Who'd you give a hand job to? Ron asked. Harry pressed his lips together tightly, fighting the urge to speak, until it became painful and he blurted out, Draco! The room was silent, but for 2 seconds. Pansy jumped up and down, screaming. Felix just screamed. Tabitha seemed to have just lost the ability to speak. Lucinda was just smiling. Luna was laughing. Ron was just staring at them, a shocked look on his face. Are you two? He started. No! Harry cut him off. We're not dating. We're not together. It was just a strange situation. Shush! Oh my gosh! Oh, this is like, truth serum doesn't actually really exist in a way. It says there is, but it's questionable because there is ways to train yourself to be immune to it. That's the problem. But it's kind of hard to do that because you have to be like trained or whatever the heck it is. He couldn't sleep and I helped him. That's all. Ron just nodded slowly. Harry's face was burning and he quickly asked Damon truth or dare. As the game continued around them, Harry felt himself getting tired. His eyes slid shut and he leaned back against Draco as the world faded to black. Draco's POV. Draco was watching as Luna and Lucinda were dared to make out when he suddenly felt a weight against his shoulder. He looked down to see Harry laying back on his shoulder, asleep. Draco smiled softly at the sight. He glanced back to see Ron looking at him with raised eyebrows. Draco blushed dark and glanced away. He glanced up again. This time Tabitha's eyes were on him. She, for once, wasn't giving him suggestive glances at the mere presence of Harry, but was instead smiling softly at the two of them. Draco glanced away again, unable to handle the implications of her expression. Well, I'm tired, and it looks like the Golden Boy is here too. I think we're gonna head to our room, Draco said. Felix smirked, but said nothing. Pansy nodded. "Good night, Draco," she said. Draco gently moved Harry forward, gently shaking his shoulder. "Harry, we're going to bed," he whispered. Harry sat up, rubbing his eye. "Sorry, I sleep on you," he murmured sleepily. "It's okay. Come on." The pair stood, ignoring the stares of the others in the room, and left. Harry was stumbling slightly, exhausted. Harry laughed lightly at the other boy. "Harry, what on earth are you doing? Walking?" Harry responded immediately. His eyes widened sleepily. I didn't mean to say that. Why did I say it?" Draco frowned. The vertiserum must still be in effect. Harry seemed to have to take a moment to register that. "Your hair looks soft." Whoa, Potter, you're really tired." Draco laughed. As they reached their room, Harry didn't respond. They stepped into their room, laid down on the bed, and immediately fell asleep. I'm getting all the ads today. What the heck is this BS? Come on. Thank you. Go away. Piss off. Okay. There we go. Yay, it's gone. Okay. Chapter 20. Party in Paris. Day 6. We have to go back to class tomorrow. Harry looked up from his drawing at Draco's words. Yes, I'm aware. I don't want to go back to class tomorrow. Harry sighed and set down his drawing pad. Why not? Because people are going to stare at us. People already stare at us. I'm the savior of the wizarding world, and you're Slytherin Ice Prince. We've been holding hands nonstop for 6 days. Draco sighed and leaned against the headboard. It's not just that. We can't even open a bloody suitcase without help from the other. How are we supposed to create potions and write notes in your case, and avoid being touched by anyone and everyone? Harry leaned again against the headboard next to him. I don't know, but we'll figure it out. Tomorrow, for now, I think we should celebrate our last day without classes. Okay. I saw Harry, what the fuck? Slow down. I went, whoa, wait, where did this go? I didn't read all of it, but that was the one thing I saw, and I was like, but that's not what it is. Okay. Draco gave him a curious look. How? Harry grinned. I have an idea. And that's the last thing he said before pulling a protesting Draco along. Harry, what the slow down, Draco shouted, trying to keep up as Harry pulls him out of the castle and into the cold December air. Harry, it's freezing out here. What are we doing?" Harry smiled, wiggling his eyebrows, before the two disappeared with a crack. Draco gasped the second they reached their destination, and hit Harry hard. "Give me a warning next time," he shouted. Harry didn't respond, just smiled brightly at the new scenery. Draco sighed and straightened, his eyes going wide. Holy shit. All around them the city sparkled with beautiful fairy lights, getting ready to celebrate Christmas. Draco's eyes caught on a particular tall tower, and his breath hitched. "Harry, are we in Paris?" That's my dream country. Going to Paris. I want to visit Paris. I want to visit all the countries, but for a little while I want to live in Paris, Japan, and maybe, definitely Southern Korea. Not northern. Southern Korea. And if Kim Jong-un would be open, I would like to tour Northern Korea and see what the difference is from Southern Korea. Draco's eyes caught on a particular... Wait, Harry just smiled, the fairy lights gleaming in his eyes. "Come on, there's something I've always wanted to do," Harry murmured, tugging Draco's hand. They walked through the street, near the massive lake in front of the Eiffel Tower, until they reached the tower. I don't know where that came from. Until they reached the tower itself. "We're gonna apparate to the top?" Draco guessed. Harry grinned wickedly, and Draco assumed his guess was correct. In a breathtaking instant, the two were suddenly at the top. Draco swayed slightly at the sudden circumstances. "Whoa!" Harry put a hand in front of him, laughing. "Don't fall. I'll drag you with me." "You'll drag me with you." Draco inhaled sharply at the golden view of Paris. Harry smiled, stepping a little closer to him, staring out at the shimmering city in front of them. Draco pointed at a large ship over on the Seine River, which was certainly boarding people. Harry grinned. "Wanna go find out?" This time, Draco was the one to apparate them, landing behind the bushes in front of the ship. Draco frowned, waving his wand over Harry. Harry felt his outfit change. It looked down to see himself wearing a t-shirt and jeans. He nodded his approval and did the same for Draco. The pair stepped out, walking to the ship. Wouldn't it have been really cold? Because Paris has the same climate as the rest of the world. Like the U.S., it's cold. It's going to be cold in Paris. So why would they be wearing a t-shirt? Because they're at the same part of the equator as, for example, a little bit of northern United States and Canada. So it's going to be cold. They stepped out, walking up to the ship. The captain asked them something in French, and Harry frowned, but Draco smiled beautifully, casting a wandless spell and saying something else in French. He handed a conjured boarding pass to the man, who nodded and shouted "Merci," and turned to the next guests. As they stepped onto the boat, Harry glanced at Draco. "I didn't know you spoke French." Draco smiled. The two studied their new surroundings. It was a golden-lit ship, full of people sitting down at tables. Harry, we didn't have an assigned table, Draco hissed in his ear. Harry glanced around nervously before his eyes landed on someone. She was laughing at something the man next to her was saying. Her long blonde hair was cascading down her shoulders. The man next to her was leaning in, smiling. Her red hair glinting in the light, a scar on his cheek, rippling the effect and the light had on his face. Harry smiled widely, pulling Draco towards them. The blonde turned toward them and surprised before standing happily, a bright, beautiful smile on her face. Harry! Fleur Weasley cried happily, moving to hug him. Harry stepped back quickly. Her smile faded. We can't be touched, Harry explained. I'd be happy to explain if we could sit at your table. Of course, Fleur said happily. Pulling chairs forward for her new company, Bill Weasley smiled at Harry, but his smile faded somewhat at the sight of Draco. Harry explained something about the spell, and by the end, Flair's eyes were wide, and Bill was glaring at Draco. Bill, stop glaring at him, Harry said, eyes flickering toward the redhead. Bill cleared his throat and straightened. Sorry, old habits die hard. What brings you to Paris? Harry shrugged. Draco speaks French, apparently, and I've always wanted to go. Tonight's our last night before we have classes tomorrow. Flair, is it Fleur or Flair? Well, it's French. I just know that. Fleur smiled brightly. Well then, we shall have to make this a wonderful night for you two. Harry smiled at her as their meals were brought. By the time they were finished their 3-course meal, they had chatted about just about everything Draco had brought into the conversation, and the night progresses. Bill got more comfortable around him. Draco sipped from his wine as Fleur told them there would be a party downtown if they wanted to go. Draco and Harry exchanged looks before nodding and agreeing. Their cruise finally returned back to shore, and the group started walking downtown. Harry could hear the party before they reached it. Loud pounding French music poured down the streets, along with people cheering. Here, Bill murmured. He cast a spell on them. I think that will protect you from the pain of being touched for a few hours. Harry poked Bill, and when nothing happened, he and Draco sighed in relief. They reached the party finally. Bright neon lights flashed everywhere, and most people had neon paint all over their faces. They danced happily to music. Harry couldn't understand, and people stood out front offering face paint. Harry grinned, and him and Draco stepped forward. A man wearing nothing but boxers painted a neon red dragon coming up from Draco's neck, and blue symbols all over his face. A woman wearing green lingerie, printed neon purple symbols on Harry's face and neon green ones on his arms. They smiled as the song started, loud and upbeat. The only phrase Harry could get from it was "Laissez les kuma." Draco tugged Harry forward, smiling brightly. Harry couldn't help but grin as Draco swayed his hips happily. They jumped up and down to the beat and the rest of the crowd. After a while of dancing, a man approached Draco. Oh no! After a while of dancing, a man approached Draco and gestured to Harry. It's que cet homme est libre. From my understanding, that means something along the lines of, is this man single? If you speak French, please correct me if I'm wrong. Well, it means is this man free, but if there's many translations, if it's from Canadian French and French, it's different. It's like Mexican Spanish and Spanish. It's different. It's just because of the region, and in Mexican Spanish is more homey, like y'all. But in Spain, it's more used as you all. It's like really different from us. Their language is less complicated than ours. So yeah, Draco's smile faded and he frowned at him. Non, shaking his head. The man sighed and walked away. What did he say? Harry asked curiously. He asked if he wanted to have sex with you. Harry blinked in surprise. And you said no? Draco nodded. Harry smiled. Thanks. They continued to dance, and it was very late, when Harry tugged Draco's hand, yelling that they had school in the morning and should probably get to leaving. They hugged and said goodbye to Fleur and Bill, promising to return soon, and walked away from the party. They sat on the top of the Eiffel Tower again, legs dangling on the edge, watching the bright lights of the party they had left. That was incredible, Draco whispered. Thank you. Harry smiled and decided to take a risk. He leaned toward Draco slightly and rested his head on the blonde's shoulder. Draco tensed, surprised, for a moment, before he relaxed and rested his head on top of Harry's. They stayed like that until the sun rose on the city. Oh, they're going to be, screwed tomorrow. Unless they had a drink like mine, which is a coffee. After 21, Chapter 21, Bruises, Dragons, and Crazy Bitches. You know what? I like that title. Day 7. Harry, Draco murmured, lifting his head off Harry's. The sun's rising. Harry yawned quietly and moved off of Draco. We need to get home and take a shower and get all this paint off of us. Draco nodded. Are you too tired to apparate? Harry shook his head, and the pair disappeared. They appeared just outside of Hogwarts, and the exhausted pair walked inside. They entered their room and took quick showers before Harry set an alarm to wake up in 2 hours, and the pair passed out on the bed. Harry woke up first to the sound of the alarm and shut it off and turned to Draco. Draco, he whispered, shaking the bonnet slightly. He didn't stir. Harry sighed and moved so he was straddling Draco's waist and shaking him harder. Draco's eyes fluttered open slowly, and then he registered someone was straddling him and shaking him. He screamed loudly and punched Harry in the mouth. Ow! Harry yelled, moving as far away from him as he could, given his situation. Jeez, Malfoy, what the heck? Shit, Draco quickly moved towards Harry. Shit, I'm sorry, you scared me. Are you all right? Harry didn't move his hand away from his mouth, wincing. "Harry," Draco whispered. "I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. Are you okay?" Harry winced again as he moved his hand away. He tasted blood. Draco's eyes were wide. "Oh, shit," he murmured. I didn't know any healings. I don't know any healing spells." Harry shook his head and to indicate that he didn't either, and stood. Draco quickly stood too, and watching Harry's every move. Harry walked to the bathroom and looked in the mirror. In the middle of his bottom lip, it split badly. The blood was dripping onto the floor. He grabbed a tissue and held it to his lip. "Harry, I'm really sorry." Draco started to apologize again. "For fuck's sake, Draco, shut up." Harry grumbled. "It's fine. It's not like we haven't done worse to each other before." Draco relaxed slightly and helped Harry clean up his lip until the bleeding stopped. "We're gonna be late if I don't think we have time for breakfast," Harry murmured after they got dressed. "I'm sorry." "Draco, stop apologizing before I make you do something with that mouth," Harry muttered, absent-mindedly, searching for a quill. Draco immediately shut up, looking shocked as Harry picked up a quill and stuffed it into his bag. Harry turned to see Draco's wide eyes and laughed lightly. "Jeez, Draco, I was kidding." Draco swallowed. "Right. Are we ready to go?" Harry studied his bag, and when he was satisfied that My stalker dude's back. Well, he's not stalking me in real life, but cyber stalking me. But, whatever. I don't care. Studied his bag, and when he was satisfied he had everything he needed, he nodded. The pair walked down why don't they apparate to each class? Wait, unless they're not allowed to. But they can use magic out of school. The pair walked down the hall toward their first class, Transfiguration. As they stepped into class, they got several stares, but Professor McGonagall barely glanced at them. Harry and Draco sat in the back of the room silently. Ron stared at Harry for a moment before leaning over to whisper at him. Mate, are you okay?" Harry frowned. "Why wouldn't I be?" Harry tapped at his own bottom lip. I would have said I was punched. I just woke up after getting punched in the face. No, I punched myself in the face while I was asleep, which could actually happen because I have fallen off my bed so many times and have kicked people off the bed because I don't like people near me unless I have told them they can be near me. It's kind of a thing I go through, I guess. I don't know. As they stepped into class, they got several... whatever. Ron tapped his own bottom lip to indicate Harry's cut lip. "Oh, yeah, Draco punched me on accident." Ron blinked about 4 times. "Accident? How did you punch someone on accident?" "Long story," Ron whispered back, but he didn't mean to, and he apologized several times. Ron thought about it for a moment before nodding and turning back to the front of the class. "Today we are learning about transfiguration of small objects into animals." This again. Oh, I hated this part. McGonagall said, instantly silencing the class. "You and your partner will be assigned an animal and an object, and you must change your object into the animal within a span of our class. You will then take care of it and return it in pristine condition tomorrow. Keep in mind your animal cannot be smaller than a button or larger than a chihuahua." she started passing out paper and objects. Ron groaned as he showed Harry his. A teddy bear sat on his desk, and his spell required he and Seamus turn it into a spider. A spider. Oh, he groaned. Oh, of all things, I have to have a teddy bear-sized spider. Sorry, mate, Harry murmured, before turning to the rest of the class. Hermione and Parvati had to transform a sock into a goose. Harry hid his laugh at the idea of trying to contain a sock-sized goose. Lucinda and Damon had to turn a rose into a snake. Ooh. Blaise and Neville had to transform a book into a bird. Tabitha and Luna had to turn a shoe into a fish. Diana and Goyle had to turn glass into a duck. Pansy and Millicent had to turn a necklace into an alligator. Damn. Small-ass alligator. Harry held his breath as McGonagall set down their paper in a lock. Harry blinked before turning to Draco. We're trying to make a tiny dragon, he asked in disbelief. Draco shrugged. I guess so. Hey, Draco, Harry smirked. Your name is in the spell. Draco rolled his eyes. Shut up and do the spell, Potter. Harry grinned. And carefully waved his wand. Draconiferous. There was a small flash of purple light, and suddenly there was a dragon, no bigger than a bottle of nail polish, sitting on their desk. It was purple and with tiny green emerald eyes, and Harry thought at that moment it was the cutest thing he'd ever seen. No way! Diane shouted from across the classroom. Harry gets a fucking dragon, and I'm stuck with a goddamn goose. All eyes in the room turned to Harry and Draco, the tiny purple dragon sitting on their desk. Harry leaned back in his chair. Diane, maybe if you weren't such a bitch who discriminates based on blood, you would get something half as interesting. Seamus whistled and Lucinda giggled. Diane glared at him before pointing her wand at at his dragon. Incendio! She shouted. Jet blue flames shot toward his dragon. Instinctively, Harry's hand shot out to protect the tiny dragon. For his mind could even register that it would burn him badly. Draco's free hand shot out and snatched Harry's hand back, and the flame hit the dragon dead on. Instantly, Harry shouted, Agumenti! Dousing the table in water. For a moment, everything was smoky and hazy. Why'd she do a fire spell at a dragon? She's a moron. First of all, duh. For a moment, everything was smoky and hazy, and no one could really see their table. As the smoke started to clear, their purple dragon flew up unharmed. Gosh, Diana, you're a fucking idiot, Seamus shouted across the class. Of all the spells you chose to kill a dragon, you chose fire. It's just a freaking boa snake. It ain't gonna kill you unless it squeezes you to death. Sorry, I looked ahead. Diane glared, pointing her wand at him, and Harry shouted the first spell that came to mind to stop her from burning him too. Serpensortia. Sorry, I can read. Diane froze as a snake bigger than her erupted from Harry's wand. Seamus smirked wordlessly, telling Diane that she had lost. Stop her. Harry hissed softly. The snake moved forward, several people screaming. McGonagall gave Harry a worried look, but did nothing. The snake encircled Diane twice before constricting. Not enough to leave her breathless, just to disarm her and leave her unable to move. The tiny dragon flew towards Diane, breathing a flame the same size that matches into her as a match's same size as a match is. Into her hair, setting it on fire. Diane screamed, Vibria evansa, in evanescia. Harry murmured, and his snake disappeared. Diane collapsed to the floor, screaming and patting her hair. The class was silent for a moment, and the tiny dragon returned to Harry and Draco. You son of a bitch! Diane yelled, striding forward and pointing her wand at Harry. Draco stepped forward in front of Harry, his wand pointing at her. Back the fuck away from him, die. Harry's eyes went wide, and Draco squeezed his hand lightly, reassuring him. Diane's eyes were dangerous and angry, and she cocked her head, smiling a crazy smile. Oh, protecting your boyfriend, Draco? Draco said nothing. Harry moved so they were side to side and saw Draco giving Diane a challenging smirk. Diane, I'm going to give you 3 seconds to back the fuck up. And if you don't, I'm going to turn you into an ant and step on you. Draco's voice was dangerous and warning. 1. Diane's eyes narrowed. 2. Crucio! Instantly, Harry felt a searing pain going through his body. Both him and Draco fell to the floor. Harry was vaguely aware of McGonagall shouting a spell at Diane, and Diane fell to the floor, bound in ropes. McGonagall shouted something again, and the pain was gone. Harry was dizzy and sat up slowly, shaking slightly. Draco sat up a moment later, shaking slightly, significantly more than Harry. Harry remembered that Draco had been tortured for years by Voldemort using Crucius. This probably didn't bring back good memories for him. Ron dropped to his knees in front of them. Harry, are you okay? He asked, panic in his voice. Pansy and Blaze were in front of Draco, murmuring comfort. Harry was aware of something resting on his shoulder. He turned his head, laughing slightly. Draco turned to see what was laughing and smiled a bit. And a soft smile broke across his face. Their tiny purple dragon was curled up on Harry's shoulder, playing with his shirt like a cat. Aww. Now that's just adorable. Sorry. Ouch, my head. Okay. Chapter 22. Wait, how long is this so far? I got more. 22. Felix and food fights. Oh boy. After McGonagall had sent a bound Diane to the headmaster's office, she checked up on all the students and excused class early, telling everyone they should relax, as they are excused for the rest of their classes for the day, and to take their assigned animals. I've got to give this thing a name, Draco said, looking at their dragon. The dragon was happily crawling around on the curtains and flying around the room, enjoying life. What do we name him? To name her? You should name her Felix. Both boys jumped at the voice, turning around to see Felix grinning at them. I heard what happened in Transfiguration class. Ron gave me the password, and I thought I should check up on you both. Harry smiled. That's kind of you, Felix. The blond boy grinned, a cocked, crooked grin. Yeah. Where's the Crooked Man's movie? I need the Crooked Man's movie. Grin a crooked grin. Before sitting on their bed. So, he said, wiggling his eyebrows, are you two a thing? Both boys reared their heads in shock. No, Draco said before Harry could. Why ever would you think that? Felix shrugged. People talk. Besides, after what you said at our Truth or Dare. He grinned suggestively. Harry snorted. We're not, Felix. Felix grinned, leaning back against the wall. That's good, I guess, because Damon seriously has his eye for you. Harry grinned slightly. Wow, whatever gave you that idea? Felix laughed lightly. Are you considering it? Harry shrugged. Smiling, Felix almost fell off the bed. You are, he cried out. Oh, please let me tell Damon. Harry grinned again. You can tell him I'm considering it, but nothing happened until Draco and I are separated. Felix sighed dramatically. Fine. Harry grinned at his friend's antics. Draco, you're awfully quiet. Draco looked irritated. He was staring at the floor, like it had personally offended him. I'm just thinking about the name of the dragon. Name it Felix. No. Fluffy. No. Pumpkin. No. Cuddle Bunny. Draco glared as Harry and Felix came up with more and more stupid names. He sighed. We're never going to name this dragon. Harry thought for a minute, before smiling sadly. What about Tonks? Draco looked at him, surprised. My cousin? Harry shrugged, smiling. It's a feisty little thing, and kind of reminds me of her. Draco smiled softly. Tonks it is. Draco and Harry decided to eat at the Slytherin table today. It was Harry's idea to bring Tonks. Pansy's eyebrows were raised to the roof when the pair sat down, their dragon sitting comfortably on Harry's shoulder. You know, the rest of us left our pets in our rooms, right? She asked. Sucks to be you, Harry commented casually as he stabbed a piece of steak. What was that? Hold on a second. Who's making noise?
What was that?
You heard it too, didn't you? It sounded like someone was trying to get in.
No.
Didn't it not?
No, something fell.
It sounded like it came, like Dad was coming in. And he hit the bag or something.
No, something fell. Did you break? Wait a minute.
Wait, what happened?
Oh.
You need to go through all this, Mom.
I know.
I'm going back to bed.
You did it. Your fault. You made the noise.
The cat made noise. No. I didn't give her greenies. Okay. Back into my room. I didn't give her greenies. Did not. My head. Anyways, now it went to the freaking... Why would you date someone like Damon? I mean, Salvador, at the other hand. Whew, yeah, I understand, but... Harry commented casually as he stabbed a piece of steak and held it to Tonks. Draco hid his smile behind his glass of water. What I'm saying is, why did you bring your stupid dragon to our dinner table? Pansy's voice was mildly annoyed. Reptiles are kind of your thing, and she's not stupid. Her name is Tonks. That shut Pansy up fast. Harry was using 2 forks, one to feed Tonks and one to eat. Eventually, Tonks seemed to get tired of this. She flew down and landed on the table and ate a piece of steak straight off Draco's plate. Draco just rolled his eyes and continued eating. How are you constantly aware of how are you not constantly aware of the fact that you're holding hands? Blaze asked, throwing his potatoes. Through his potatoes. Oh, he's eating. Okay, I guess. Draco just rolled his eye. Oh, wait, no. Harry shrugged. I've gotten used to it. Occasionally, we forget, and one of us tries to walk away and remembers they can't, but we're mostly used to it now. Blaze shook his head. I don't think I could do it. I'd cut off my own frickin' hand. Harry and Draco both just shrugged and continued eating. Suddenly, someone dropped into the seat next to Harry. He jumped slightly. If Hermione says one more thing about stupid Malfoy, I'm going to flip my shit. I had enough of that from the last 7 years. Ron huffed. Draco snorted, saying nothing. Harry grinned. Welcome to the table, Weasley. Pansy replied, a smirk playing on her lips. He sent her a matching smirk before snatching her glass of orange juice, downing it. Hey, she cried in protest. You're gonna frickin' pay for that. She stood up and flung a spoon of mashed potatoes at him. He ducked out of the way, and her mashed potatoes hit Blaze straight in the face. He blinked several times before slowly standing up and splashing grape juice all over her. Harry grinned evilly as Pansy sputtered and screeched. He launched his own spoonful of mashed potatoes over at the Ravenclaw table and hit a girl on the back of the head, and she turned around, irritated. Before seeing the scene before her, her eyes widened. Food fight! She yelled loudly. Someone from the Hufflepuff table hit Dean straight in the face with a pie, and chaos broke. Harry kept his target in mind. Draco, he hissed. Throw the macaroni at Hermione. Draco stared at him. Why me and why not you? I can't throw left-handed, he lied. Draco rolled his eyes and moving them so they were both standing at the Slytherin table and threw mac and cheese across the room at Hermione. Her eyes zoned in at Draco, furious. She threw her pudding straight at him and hitting him straight in the face. Draco sputtered and coughed before wiping it away from his eyes. He glared at Harry, who was bent over laughing. You can throw left-handed, can't you? He asked the laughing boy. Harry grinned, and his answer was in the form of hitting Seamus in the face with macaroni. But with his left hand. You asshole! Draco laughed. He shoved mashed potato in Harry's face, laughing. Harry coughed and laughed before getting hit in the stomach with applesauce, courtesy of Felix. Harry couldn't help but stare at Draco's face as he laughed, a bright smile across his face and happiness in his eyes. Across the table, Damon glared, stabbing his steak with his fork. Ooh, dun, dun, dun. Can we do 23? Yes, we can do 23. We got this. Chapter 23. Blissful Happiness. Day 8. Harry sat up, smiling as sunshine poured through their window. Draco. He sing-songed before turning to face the sleeping blonde. His breath caught in his throat. Draco looked incredibly peaceful. A small smile curved on his lips, pale skin glowing in the morning sun. Harry studied his hair. It was messy, soft, and blonde. It was beautiful. Carefully, he stretched out his hand and ran his fingers through it, almost gasping at the sensation. It was so soft and perfect, and suddenly Harry was overcome by the urge to pull on it. He quickly snatched his hand away before his libido got the best of him. Oh shit, now I'm hard. Before Harry could do anything about that, Draco was awakened, his eyes fluttering open, and a small, soft smile gracing his lips. Harry returned his smile, although Harry's own was a little strained, given his circumstances. Hey, Draco. Do you think before we go to class we can take our showers? Why can't we take them after classes when we have more time? Draco replied. Because I'd really like to go to take a shower. Crap. I don't care. I don't want to take a shower yet. I've just woken up. I'd really like to take a shower. Harry's voice was more like a little strained now. Draco looked slightly concerned. Good for you. Oh, fuck it. A cold shower right now. Draco's eyes were wide with realization, and he wordlessly mouthed, "Oh. Yeah, so can I just go take my shower now?" Draco rolled his eyes. Honestly, Potter, what did you make our deal for if you're not going to utilize it? Harry blinked several times. Deal? Draco sighed. What's the point in having a gorgeous blonde with a working mouth and hands? Hand at your disposal if you're not going to use him. What am I reading? I just noticed that I've been saying such weird shit for the past, I don't know how many minutes. Anyways, let's keep on going. Harry blinked again, and then something clicked. Oh, I didn't know if you'd want to. I still owe you for last time. Draco blushed at his words, but his expression didn't change. Draco, I don't want you to do that because you think you owe me. Potter, I'm a flaming homosexual who very much enjoys dick, with obvious exceptions. At Harry's blank stare, he sighed again. Family, or Voldemort, or Damon. What do you have against Damon? Do you want your dick sucked or not? Harry's eyes widened. I thought you were just going to give you a hand job. I could, if that's all you want. But speaking from experience, a blowjob is generally better. Harry was still trying to wrap his mind around the fact that Draco fucking Malfoy was asking him if he wanted a blowjob. Yeah, okay. Eloquent was always, as always. It was eloquent as always. It was with these words that Draco moved in front of Harry, tugging down his pajama bottoms. Harry didn't really have a chance to respond, as he was suddenly engulfed by the wet heat of Draco's mouth. Oh, fuck, he moaned. Jesus, crow. He desperately wanted to wind his fingers through Draco's hair and tug on it, but he had a feeling the blonde wouldn't accept it. He was shocked to find Draco swallowing, and after a few moments of collecting himself, the pair got dressed and went to the Great Hall. Gryffindors or Slytherins? Draco murmured as he opened the door. Honestly, Potter, are you always this brain dead after an orgasm? Just one from you. I wish he said that. Then everything would have been perfect. Slytherins it is. When they sat down to eat, Pansy gave them both a smile, which they returned. Harry happened to glance down and noticed something Draco probably didn't want him to. The blonde was hard. Fuck's sake. Harry smirked, and for a moment wondered if he had caused that, before coming to the conclusion that Draco had just really liked sucking dick. He decided to ignore it for now. He grabbed himself some pancakes, orange juice. He was getting really good at using his left hand and began eating. Sup, fuckers? Blaze greeted as he sat down. I'm so like that. Hey, Blaze. Harry responded. Draco, mouthful, just nodded at his friend. Harry. Blaze was locking eyes with Harry, a serious look on his face. Can I get your help on something? Harry blanked. You want my help on something? Blaze nodded. Can you meet me after your first class by the second floor boys' bathroom? I don't like where this is going. Harry nodded. Blaze smiled at him, grateful, and took a sip of orange juice. So, Pansy, got your eye on anyone lately? Harry asked. She laughed shortly. If by anyone you mean a collection of high-tech sex toys, then yes. Harry snorted. Draco choked on his apple juice. How extensive is your collection, and are you willing to share? Harry asked with a wink. This time, Blaze choked on his orange juice, and Draco was coughing. Pansy, amused eyes scanned the pair before her. Okay. Before settling on Harry, she rested her chin on her hand and leaned forward. Very extensive. I'm willing to share on 2 conditions. Harry copied her, leaning forward on his hand. Do tell me your conditions. I have to show you personally how they will all work, and you have to bring Draco. Draco was trying to catch his breath from coughing, but at those words he squeaked and choked on air. Blaze was still coughing. Those don't sound like conditions. Those sound like bonuses. Draco made another squeak noise at Harry's words. Do you happen to have handcuffs? Oh, I would do this. Oh, I need to screenshot this. Oh, this is so perfect. Oh, this is like icing on a cake. Oh, I need this. Hold on. hold on lately. And okay, there we go. Anyways, let's keep on going. Do you have handcuffs? It was at these exact words that Felix inhaled sharply, choking on his scrambled eggs. And now they had 3 coughing Slytherin boys because of their conversation. Pansy's eyes flickered to Damon, and then Harry. She smiled wickedly. Harry immediately understood the challenge. Let's go for 4. I do, and whips, although I keep those in my wardrobe. How would you feel about practicing those handcuffs on Draco? Harriet mused, pretending to be in thought. Draco, who was attempting to stop coughing by taking a sip of orange juice, choked on it and continued coughing. Now he had Damon's attention. The boy hasn't eaten anything yet, but Pansy purposely waited until he lifted his pumpkin juice to his lips to speak again. I think we should. I can practice the whole licking food off the naked body thing. And these words, the chaos Slytherin table went into chaos. Felix was no longer choking. He was instead on the floor giggling. Lucinda Cast knocked over her. She was in shock of Pansy's words. Once landed on Tabitha's lap. Tabitha screamed. At the same time, Blaze fell off his chair in shock. Draco visibly jumped, and Harry didn't miss the fact that this conversation had not deterred his erection at all. And Damon choked on his apple juice and was now coughing. Harry and Pansy met each other's eyes and lost it, bursting out laughing. Harry was aware of the fact that everyone in the Great Hall was staring at them, but couldn't stop laughing. Pansy had her head on the table, shoulders shaking with laughter. Draco stared at them for a moment, a smile twitching on his face, on his lips, before he too burst out in laughter. You assholes, he started breathlessly. You did that on purpose. Pansy was too busy laughing to answer. Harry, breathlessly from laughter, could only nod. There we go. Okay. After 15 minutes of the Slytherin table gathering themselves, breakfast had ended, and they were now headed to class. Fuck a divination. Draco grumbled. Boring as fuck. Harry smirked, plan already forming in his head. I know how to make it interesting. I like the sound of that, Draco said cautiously, not knowing that what Harry was planning. You will, Harry replied, grinning. Before the two stepped into the classroom, they went all the way to the back of the classroom, sitting at their desk. Draco stared dully at Trelawney, who was already spouting shit about their dark futures to Parvati and Padme. As class started, Trelawney instructed them to spend 5 minutes gazing into the crystal ball in front of them and seeing if they could see anything. As everyone, including Draco, was staring intently at the crystal ball, Harry lifted his and Draco's conjoined hands. Draco gave him a curious look, but then Harry stared blankly ahead at the crystal ball. Draco blinked and returned to studying it. Harry moved their hands so they rested right on Draco's crotch. Draco's breathing hitched slightly, and his head quickly turned to face Harry. Harry stared ahead innocently as he slowly moved his hand back and forth over the hard outline of Draco's jeans. Draco bit his lip hard and seemed to force himself to stare at the crystal ball again, as though Harry wasn't teasing him in the middle of class. After 5 minutes of torturing Draco, Harry smirked as Trelawney spoke again. "Did anyone see anything?" The Padal twins' hands went up. As they told Trelawney what they saw. Harry removed the joined hands away from Draco's erection. Draco gave him a sharp look, one Harry ignored. "All right. Seeing as none of you besides the Padal girls saw anything, we shall try private meditation. You will close your eyes and focus on the future and what could come to be." Trelawney demonstrated this by sitting at her desk, closing her eyes. The class copied her except for Harry. The second he was sure that everyone's eyes were closed, Harry slipped out of his chair and onto his knees in front of Draco. The blonde's eyes opened in shock, and Draco gave him a wink, a wicked grin. And why am I reading this? Oh no, it's going to be 2 hours long. Oh well, I'm at this point where I don't care. Held a finger up to his lips. Using one hand, he quickly unbuttoned and pushed down Draco's jeans and underwear, setting his free. Draco's eyelashes fluttered as Harry leaned forward, taking Draco's in his mouth. Harry bobbed his head slowly, carefully, to make no noise. He pulled off, tracing his tongue over the head. Draco covered his mouth with his hand in an effort to not make noise. After about 5 minutes of this, Trelawney's voice rang out again. "All right, meditation over. What did you guys see?" Harry smirked and pulled Draco's pants and underwear back on before sliding back to the seat. Draco glared at him, still clearly hard, and hit his head against the desk in frustration. "Mr. Malfoy, did you see anything?" "I saw Potter dying a slow and painful death." No. Harry smirked. "What was that?" I didn't see anything," Draco said louder, lifting his head. The rest of the class went on without any more teasing from Harry. The second Trelawney dismissed class, Draco yanked Harry out of the door. Harry realized he was pulling him in the bathroom and smirked. "Harry! Oh, for gosh fucking sake. What the fuck does he want?" Draco groaned from the pair turned around. "Second floor bathroom," Harry murmured. "Blaze wanted to ask me something." Sure enough, the black-haired boy was jogging up to them, a nervous smile on his face. Draco muttered something along the lines of blue balls before leaning back against the wall. Harry smirked and decided to be an asshole. "Hey, Blaze," he said, moving so his right arm was behind him and leaning against Draco purposely, pushing his ass against Draco's erection. Draco groaned softly, dropping his head on Harry's shoulder. "Hey, Harry, I need to ask you something." "Yeah." Anything. You're friends with Neville. Is he single? Blaze was shifting his weight from foot to foot. Blushing slightly, Harry raised an eyebrow. You're into Neville? Blaze shrugged, smiling slightly. Yeah, he's single. I'll put in a good word for you and try to get you two alone together, Harry said, smiling as he shifted his hips slightly. Draco made a sound halfway between a moan and a squeak. Blaze's face brightened. Thanks, Harry. Is Draco okay? Tired, Draco replied, an irritated edge to his voice. Blaze nodded. Well, thanks, Harry. He smiled and walked away. Fuck, is he gone? Draco muttered. Harry grinned. He is. Draco lifted his head, pushing Harry off of him and yanking him into the boys' bathroom. He locked and silenced the door and had Harry push against the wall in seconds. What the fuck was that? He growled. What? He asked, batting his eyelashes innocently. Draco's eyes flashed with anger. First breakfast with all the stupid innuendos, and then divination, and then just now. Are you trying to kill me, Potter? Harry smirked. If I was trying to kill you, I wouldn't be like this. With that, he reversed their position as Draco was against the wall and sank down to his knees. Whenever Draco was going to say what was going to say was cut off by a moan as Harry continued his blowjob from before. Fuck, Harry, he shouted and came minutes later. Harry swallowed, and considering it wasn't an awful taste. He could see how one could get used to it. Draco sank to the floor, looking mildly dizzy. Worth the wait? Harry asked nervously. He had no idea if he was decent at a blowjob or not. Harry, where the fuck did you learn that? Harry blinked. What? How many fucking blowjobs did you have to give to be that good at it? Draco was sitting up now, a slightly glazed look in his eyes. Harry frowned. Was I okay? That's the first time I've given one. Draco's eyes, no longer glazed, snapped to Harry. You're joking. Harry shook his head slowly. Potter, that was the best freaking blowjob I've ever gotten in my whole life. There's no effing way. You've never done that. Harry smiled slightly. Really? Draco's eyebrows raised. You have no idea how good you are, do you? Harry shrugged. I don't have anything to compare it to, really. The only blowjob I've ever gotten was from you. I just tried to copy you. Draco blinked several times. While I am very good at sucking dick, Potter, I'm nowhere near that good. Harry raised his eyebrows. Well, I don't know. You're literally more my only sexual experience. Draco laughed softly. Damn, I guess you're just a natural. Well, I guess that's all argument about me not being gay out the window. Harry said, smiling. Draco snorted. I suppose so. Okay, guys, I'm gonna end it here, and it's gonna be 2 hours and 30 seconds. So, guys, I'm gonna end it here. If you haven't yet, subscribe and put on push notifications so you're alerted every time I post a video. And like, comment, share, and subscribe, please. Put on just be yourself. Don't judge people by what they do for a living or don't do for a living. Be happy, be healthy, always be loving. Bye bye. Love Love you.